Right, good morning, welcome to my channel. And so this morning I just thought I'd do a short video, or as short as possible, just a quick review on the weekend previous that I went to the dinghy show up at Farnborough Exhibition Centre, all about sailing, etc. Although there was some inflatable kayaks there, which I was quite impressed about. But the majority of the show was about obviously sailing and dinghies, small and large, etc., cats, quite a big sort of variety of sailing boats for the youngsters, the youth and us adults. So I had a really good day, and I have already noticed that there is a comment on one of my previous videos, which is fine, and I'm quite sort of like open to people commenting on my channel and my videos, and so all comments are welcomed, whether they are whether the feedback is neutral or positive or negative, so all comments, and I'm not saying this particular comment was negative or neutral or positive, but I will say that based on the comment that was left, I do feel a little bit towards that comment wasn't exactly what I believe or I perceive to be true. Now, as far as expense goes for these boats and sailing them and storing them and having to join the clubs to be able to sail them, etc., and also getting the qualifications, the RYA qualifications, not forgetting that, to be able to sail at clubs and to be able to sail your dinghy at these lakes, etc., which you are going to have to do, and to achieve a standard to be able to kind of buy a dinghy from someone at a club or buy a dinghy off the internet and sail it. It's not as easy as we all think, some of us think it is to be able to get into this kind of sport activity. And there is a cost to, as there is everything really, as you know, same as cycling, kayaking, sailing, golf, anything, you know, there's a cost involved. And I've got quite a lot of activities and sports that I'm actually into. I've spent a lot of my years racing, firstly as amateur in cycling, and then building up into a racing, and then obviously spending lots of years training and learning and educating myself to be able to compete in amateur racing in the UK. And I believe that I got to a fairly good level without coaching, without professional coaching, without an expensive coaching program. Although I was a member of a race team at one point in a club, which, as I was a couple of other clubs, but one particular club I joined and was a member of, there was a coaching session on a Tuesday night. So that did help me get more confidence and experience in to be able to race and do well. So my background of cycling is huge, and it has, I say it's huge, it started very later on in life, and I've only, you know, I haven't raced cycles since, you know, I was sort of 15, 16 years of age. I came into it quite late. And then because basically I have had a lot of illness, because I've had a couple of, you know, some illness issues over the last year or so. Obviously, cycling racing has come, I've had to take a bit of a, have had to slow down with my cycling and almost knock racing on the head. So I've been looking at other things while I've been off work, etc., to get me, to get me, keep my brain active and find other activities that I can enjoy and learn and do well at. And I have been involved in kayaking for a while now, and I've enjoyed that, and I've had to learn things like doing Eskimo rolls. I've had to go on courses to learn that. I've had to go on courses to learn how to paddle properly, and I've invested a lot of money in the gear to do that as well. Now, my kayaking I love. There'll be videos of me kayaking on my YouTube channels, and there'll be plenty more in the future I'll be doing as well, because I love my kayaking, and kayaking gets you out there to explore. Now, when I got into kayaking, very quickly, I learned that I needed to learn to roll, and I had to learn that and go and get coaching for that. There wasn't no one holding my hand all the way, as cycling, and as kayaking, and as I've learning about other sports as well, which I'll come on to. So unfortunately in this life, sometimes you do have to research and talk to people and basically get out there and do that activity yourself, whether it be golf, football, or sailing, cycling, kayaking. A lot of the sports and activities out there do offer training programs, courses you can go on, but again, they're at a cost, and there's not always people there initially to help you choose the appropriate gear or the courses from starting out. And I've kind of learned over the years that when I've bought something to get involved in an activity, it's the wrong one. And I'm sure I'm not the only one out there that's bought something to do something with, whether it's a sailing boat, a kayak, a bicycle, a set of golf clubs, you name it, anything. There's always going to be an upgrade for something. There's always going to be a better product than another product, whether it be carbon fibre, plastic, GRP, metal, aluminium, etc., etc. It's a bit like buying a car. You buy a car, and then later on you want another car because it's a better car, it's a nice car, it's a better looking car, more suited to whatever you want to do. It's like me this time. I bought this time around, my last car, the current car at the moment, is an SUV type of car, which suits my lifestyle because of pets, and chucking stuff in the back of it, collecting some building gear to do the house, and chucking my boat gear or my kayak gear on, being able to carry a kayak, being able to carry a bicycle inside, all sorts of, these kind of things that I'm talking about is what the point I'm trying to get at. So going back to before we lead ourselves away, and I lead myself away in a conversation about what I intended to speak to you about in the first place, sailing. So, okay, let's just reflect on what I was initially talking to you about as comments on here. Now, I had a great day on Saturday. I had a fantastic day, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't necessarily enjoy spending £19 on a small flatbread with a bit of rice and chicken in. That, I think, is taking the biscuit, if I'm being polite. But it's a show, an exhibition, and we know what to expect, don't we, when we go to these shows and exhibitions as far as food, which is why a lot of the time we take packed lunches. And I should have took a packed lunch or some kind of, or gone out for lunch even, maybe, I don't know, because 19 quid is ridiculous. Anyway, putting that to one side, that's my bit on that, and my view on that. And anyway, so I had a great day. I met some nice people, had good chats, and opened my eyes up to the prices and cost of new dinghies. And I will say now that yes, you can buy a boat, sailing boat, or a kayak, or a bicycle for little money. And you can also buy a decent bicycle, decent kayak, decent sailing boat, decent set of golf clubs for a lot of money. Now, when you buy second-hand stuff off eBay, off the internet, off a friend, not so much friends, but, well, yeah, I mean, even friends really, or someone you know, if you are buying something cheap, there is a reason why it's cheap. We all know that. There's an old saying, buy cheap, buy twice. And I was told that by someone that many years ago, and it is kind of true. Buy cheap, buy twice. And it doesn't matter what you buy these days. If you buy something cheap, 9 times out of 10, you're going to buy it again because it won't last, or it's going to have problems and issues. And that comes with cars as well, exactly the same. So, you know, you buy a car, exactly the same problems. But then you can buy a fairly newish car and you can be in a similar boat, pardon the pun, there as well. So that is why I prefer to try, if possible now, and I've learnt my lesson, to try and buy either newish or new. And a lot of my bikes, say for example, have all been from, well, started out years ago, I was buying second-hand stuff, wasn't lasting very long, didn't turn out it'd be ready, you know, it wouldn't be sort of like adequate for what I wanted to do with it after a certain period of owning it. And so I had to upgrade that bicycle or the components to be able to do what I wanted to do at a later date. And that's I'm talking about racing now. And being competitive basically in general with clubs or friends or, you know, in a race. So I am a great believer now that if you can, even if you have to stretch your budget a little bit to buy something a bit newer, or if not new. And yes, you can pick up a sailing dinghy and I'll put a description up on the screen, for 200, 300, 500 quid. Let's say Laser One sailing dinghy, right? So I recently bought a Laser One sailing dinghy, very cheap, but since then I've upgraded some bits and pieces on it because it's a bit worn out. It's cost me a few pounds. And when I'm thinking now of upgrading a couple of bits and pieces on it, and when I look at that, I think, actually, do you know what? I'd be better off buying a newer one that's, you know, that's got all them bits and pieces on it, that's already been renewed and redone and, you know, whatever, or repaired and replaced. So I do think that sailing or dinghy sailing is fairly expensive. It can be cheap, as I just said, but you are going to spend money at a later date on that particular purchase. And not only that, you are still going to have to pay for club memberships and storage fees on a lot of these dinghies and boats in sailing in general, because that's the way it works out there. Not to mention that you need, as I said earlier, you need an RYA level 1 and 2 if possible, and further your training to be able to sail at these clubs or even take your boat out on your own. Now, I don't find that hard to deal with, because I quite like challenges, I quite like learning, etc, etc, and, you know, I can afford to do that. But for someone that's on a very low budget, to be able to want to get into sailing, to do an RWA level 1 and then to do a 2 and then to buy a boat and then to pay the club subscription, you know, and I fair play to these parents that pay for the kids and that you know, that do sailing and that at an early age, because it's their pockets that are, you know, that they're putting their hands into, and it is an expensive hobby. It's not a cheap hobby, it is expensive, and as most things are that you want to do these days. you know, it's same as golf, same as cycling can be as well. We can all do things on a budget, but at some point you're going to want to upgrade and get newer equipment, etc., and do it more often. The only thing is with sailing is that I've learned is that there is a lot of there is a certain amount of time that people don't sail so much, and that's due to weather, obviously, and the conditions of the water out there, etc., whether that be the lakes or the sea, open sea. With a kayak, I can just chuck it on the car. It can be as rough as hell out there, and as long as I don't go out where the sea state's above my ability, I can still go out in the cold weathers and have a really good time and enjoy my day and put my dry suit on, put my decent gloves on, and explore the south coast or wherever I'm going with my kayak on top of my car, whether it be lakes or etc. So there isn't that club membership, there isn't that storage fee, because it just sits in the back of my garden or sits in my garage or my house or my spare room or whatever, you know, wherever you store your kayak. And with cycles is relatively the same. The storage is very low, the club memberships are very low, and even race fees aren't that expensive. Although if you do a lot of races over the year, then you can then spend a lot of money travelling and entering a lot of races. There isn't the you can go and get a coach, but let's be honest, I can go out and I can do a cycle race and I can be a novice, and considering the risks of cycling, racing, and I'm talking about racing in general here, the risk of a fate of a life-changing incident in a cycle race, whether it be amateur or even a club ride, is huge, because it only takes one person to make a mistake and then it snowballs from there. And I have seen people in cycle racing have accidents that have not come back to cycle racing, and even I have seen some very serious accidents which I would like not to mention on camera, which have been even worse. So as far as sailing goes, there is a lot of red tape to jump through to be able to get into it. Once you've jumped through that red tape and you've spent a couple of quid out your pocket, then it gets a little bit easier to be able to get involved in it a bit more and maybe even compete. Considering that you're on the water, and obviously there is collisions, there is accidents that can happen. It is quite a tough sport to get into. It is, as far as help and advice and training, and it's going to cost you a few quid, as I said, to get involved and be able to sail properly. I am literally tipping my toes into this activity at the moment, and I am learning as much as possible off the internet, off YouTube, off courses that I've attended, off speaking to people. I'm consuming huge amounts of knowledge about sailing in general, whether it be a small boat or a bigger boat, and it is really interesting and I am enjoying it thoroughly. But I am a little bit frustrated in respect that I can only sail at certain times, etc., for whatever reason that is, whether it's because other people need to be there, a safety boat, whether it's because the weather conditions, or whether it's because I can't take my boat to certain places, etc., like that. Whereas my kayak, my bicycle, boom, straight on there, on the car, we're gone. Go up to Lake District with my bicycle, cycle 100 miles a day, you know, come back a weekend, cycling, racing. Same with my kayak, and shut my kayak on my car and go around, go up to Scotland, go off the coastline, as long as I know, don't go out of my comfort zone. I've got my VHF radio, which is a course I've had to attend for that. I've got my PLB. I've got me equipment, me life jackets, my proper equipment that I wear. I've got everything on the boat that I need, and I'm confident enough to be able to go off on my own. There is still a stigma with a lot of sports that if you do that people kind of put on some sports, that you shouldn't do stuff on your own. the majority of people I speak to do end up doing these activities on their own, whether it be kayaking, cycling, even racing and cycling, and go off to these events. And it does get a lot of sports out there do get a lot of stigma as far as like you should never go out on your own, etc. like that. You should never go out in a kayak on your own. There are, because people have accidents, because things happen, incidents can happen. I think as just from a safety point of view, that obviously people are concerned about other people going out on their own, and I get that. But what I want to say to you as people that are, my viewers, is that don't let all of these red tape and what some people say about some of these activities, don't let that stop you going out there and learning something about something, because there's far too many people out there at the moment that don't get involved in activities outside the window or the front door because they're too scared or they don't have help and advice. And help and advice is there, but let's be honest, right? A lot of the time you've got to really put yourself out. You've got to put that one foot forward to be able to go and find or get help, or even 2 or 3 or 5 steps forward to go, and get some help and advice and put yourself out there, and out your comfort zone. So I'm all for one, putting yourself out your comfort zone and learning something. I find sailing quite exciting. I've, and for what I've just said, I know a small amount of knowledge about sailing, whereas cycling, huge. As one of my favourite sayings is, every day is a school day, and it will always be, and you will always have them days. It doesn't matter whether you've been doing something for years. As I said, racing, I have a huge amount of knowledge and experience on it, but I will still learn things. I will still pick up stuff off YouTube, off GCN, of new tech or gadgets or components that are coming out in the market. And I still have to adapt myself to learn about how to maintain them, how to buy them, how to use them. So we all have to do that, adapt our brains to do that. And unfortunately, some people do struggle with that, and I've struggled with sailing. I've struggled with getting involved in it. It's been frustrating, because I just want to get out there sometimes and do it, and I can't. And it's been frustrating that I've had to go on all these courses to be able to do it. Obviously, we don't mind learning, and we're quite happy to learn, but sometimes you have to learn you have to learn a vast amount of knowledge to be able to do something. And I suppose that's just life in general. That's the way it is, and there's nothing wrong with learning knowledge and gaining knowledge and getting yourself more experienced about something to be able to do something well. So anyway, going back to what I was saying about the prices, yes, you can buy, as I said, there was a comment, yes, you can buy stuff, and I'll again put another photo up there of various products you can buy in sailing, i.e. dinghies, that are cheap. But you're still going to have to pay the club membership. You're still going to have to do an RYA level 1 and 2 course. If you've already done that, that's great. If you've been sailing for years, that's great. But most clubs will want you to have an RYA level 1, at least a 2, to be able to go and sail on the lakes with them or by yourself. Anyway, I had a great day. There's nothing wrong with I have no negativity apart from the sandwich that I bought, or the flatbread for £19. I'll say that again, £19. I have no problems with going up to there and spending time and a day up there. It was absolutely awesome, and there's some lovely boats up there. And if you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grand to spend on a boat, then brilliant. Go on the internet, do your research, because there's some lovely boats out there for that kind of money, and you will get a really nice boat that will last you a long time. I personally can't warrant spending that kind of money on a boat at the moment because I've got some other things that I need to invest in, but I'm sure at a later date maybe later on in the year, or I may purchase something a bit newer. But then I might change my mind in the next few months anyway, because I'm a bit like that. So it all depends on money, doesn't it? And this is the thing, it's all about cost. So, you know, yeah, I think really, and it's not just sailing, I think a lot of these sports now, I think everything's getting so much more expensive. Even boats now, bigger boats, you're seeing a lot more boats being sold on the market, eBay, places that sell boats, marinas, etc. As said on YouTube, you know, if you go on YouTube and you'll research and find these people that are saying exactly the same as what I'm saying, really, there's the cost of maintaining the moorings for bigger boats is astronomical in some places. You know, £2,000-3,000 for a mooring for the year in some places. You know, and maybe 900 quid in another place. That's it's still lots of money, and then you've got the clubs, the memberships as well on top of that. So it does kind of, it can spiral out, and you know, you're paying for a boat that's probably cost you, you know, you could buy, let's say you purchase a boat for like £2,000, £3,000, £5,000, and you're paying that's an older boat, and you're still paying, or even £500 or £1,000, and you're still paying mooring fees of 900 up to 3,000 just to put it in either a marina or on the side of a buoy in the Medway estuary, say, for argument's sake. So I think that's having a massive effect on people with boats. It seems to be a lot up for sale at the moment, and there's a lot of stuff out there for choice. And what worries me about buying a boat is the fact that a lot of them are already in the water, and there's cost of obviously getting them out, etc. So that's, I think, over the next year, that looks like that's going to probably have a more effect on more boats coming onto the market sooner or later. So for me, I'm going to stick with my sailing. I'm going to learn a lot more. I want to learn more. I want to become a better sailor. I want to educate myself, whether it be more courses. As I said, I have started to get interested in sailing and kayaking over the last couple of years, because my cycling has had to, I've had to wind that down a bit because of my ill health, and which is a shame. But I will still keep doing my cycling. I will still just keep it to, I will just at the moment keep it to a recreational activity more than a competitive one. And I can still ride in my club, and or one of my clubs, and I can still train hard to a degree, to the degree that I can manage. But I still want to learn and put more time into my kayaking and my sailing, because I thoroughly enjoy them. The actual fitness involved in sailing and kayaking is it's not as full on as I have spent over the years in getting involved in racing with cycling. So it's been quite nice and chilled out to learn and explore this sailing activity. So that is it really for now. I just wanted to clarify a comment on there, and as I said, I'm not trying to knock that particular comment in any way, but I'm just trying to give my feedback to that comment as I feel as a beginner or a newbie coming into this activity. And if someone wants to change my mind, show me a different pathway for it to be a cheaper and easier activity sport to get involved in, then great, because I really like sailing, and I'm sure that I will stick at this like I have done all my other activities, because I haven't stopped cycling, you know, and that's not it. I will continue cycling, but not at a competitive level. And I'll still get out in the colder months on my bicycles, or my bike, or one bike now. And I will continue to do my kayaking all year round, and hopefully we'll be able to continue doing my sailing, because yes, it has cost me little money to get into it, and the boat I've got will do the job I need to do, and it will give me that opportunity to get out in the water. But at some point, it is going to fail, and their parts are going to have to be replaced, and I am going to have to invest in a newer model or a newer version or a newer boat to be able to continue doing it. So yes, you can buy a boat for 300-500 quid, but if you want a decent boat, you are looking at a lot more money, and a couple of thousand at least that. And that's a lot of money to a lot of people out there. You know, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Anyway, my next video, I should do some videos shortly on my activities, outdoor pursuits, which is my channel, and I will hopefully keep you up to date with what's going on with my health-wise and etc. And my return and recovery back to full fitness, hopefully this year. So yeah, got lots going on, lots of things that I want to achieve still at an age of 54. And I'm not dead and buried just yet. I'm coming into this YouTube broadcasting channel like very late, and it's quite nice to share stuff and talk to people and receive comments, and it's quite nice to help others as well, because a lot of the videos I've done with cycling, I've had comments from people, and it has helped, even if I just help one person choose a product, because, you know, then, which I have already with a set of wheels. No, sorry, not a set of wheels. It was with one of my bikes, which I reviewed, Specialized Crux. So yeah, anyway, catch you on the next videos and see you soon.